It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. It's ZiFM Sport on a Friday, Fire Friday we call it, and the team is here: Mike, Chris, Sean, Alois, and me, Barry. On the home front today, Zimbabwe cricket team fast bowler Blessing Muzarabani's match-winning performance in the Chevron's famous win against Pakistan in November last year has been rated the 2020 Men's One-Day International Bowling Performance of the Year by the well-respected cricket news website ESPNcricinfo. We'll be talking about that accolade later in the show. Also, you can look forward to international sports news where winning at all costs will be the only objective when the 4 Currie Cup semi-finalists take to the field tomorrow at Loftus, Firstfeld and Newlands, respectively, to stake a claim for a place in the final.
We'll take you around the world in 60, starting off in the United Arab Emirates, where Conor McGregor promised a masterpiece when the biggest draw card in mixed martial arts returns to the fray against US lightweight Dustin Poirier in the headline event in the UFC 257 card in Abu Dhabi. In news from Japan, Red Bull has reached an agreement with Honda that will allow the 2 energy drink-owned teams to continue to use the departing Japanese manufacturer's Formula One engines after 2021. And in the United States, LeBron James scored a season-high 34 points to help keep the LA Lakers undefeated on the road this season with a 113-106 win over the Milwaukee Bucks.
Immediately following on from international sports news, we have our play of the day. Well, we'll get your party started, get your weekend started right here on your favorite sports show. And then it's the beautiful game which kicks off on the continent at Chad in Cameroon, where 2-time champions, the DRC, needed a late strike by Amadou Massassi to salvage a 1-1 draw against Libya to ensure they continue leading Group B. We head over to England, the Premier League, where Jurgen Klopp has tried to deflect scrutiny away from his misfiring Liverpool attack by insisting he was to blame for the champions' shock defeat to Burnley last night. We go to La Liga in Spain, where ahead of their test against Valencia on Sunday, Luis Suarez double sent Atletico Madrid 7 points clear as they recover to beat Eibar 2-1 last night. And there's also plenty of action in Serie A, Bundesliga, as well as Ligue 1 in France. But first, it's our Power Play Fire Friday. It's the turn of Olakira. It's featuring David O. This is the remix of Maserati.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Catch us on social media at ZiFM Sport. We're on every platform, including YouTube. Simply search for it, like, follow. And if you're on YouTube, why don't you get notifications of every new post that we put up, because you can watch and listen to back editions of the show on that platform. In our individual capacities, it's at Mike Madoda, at Gazaman14 for Alois Bunjira. It is at Shontafire Nika for Sean, at Christine Midzi, and at Barry Manandi. Right, let's get after it. On the home front, Zimbabwe cricket is what we're talking. Now, Zimbabwe cricket team fast bowler Blessing Muzarabani, his match-winning performance in the Chevron's famous win against Pakistan in November last year has been rated as the 2020 Men's One-Day International Bowling Performance of the Year by the well-respected cricket news website ESPNcricinfo. Barely a few weeks after bouncing back to the Zimbabwe side, Muzarabani underlined his importance in the Chevron side after picking up 5 wickets for 49 runs in 10 overs in the third One-Day International against Pakistan in Rawalpindi, in what stands out as his best bowling performance in One-Day Internationals. And in truth, It was his exploits in that super over, Mike, that really cemented the bowling performance because, my goodness, we knew we were watching something special in that super over, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. He was absolutely fantastic. I mean, just to back that maiden 5-4 that he had picked up in regulation time, as it were, he then went on, of course, to dismiss Iftikhar Ahmed and Shah for just 2 runs from 4 balls. I mean, that takes some doing in a super over where, you know, the batsmen are trying to line you up and take you beyond the rope. So it was a fantastic bowling performance. But even Barry, in regulation time, where he picked up those 5 wickets, he picked up the crucial wicket of Baba Azam, who at that time was the leading batsman in the world. And that is what actually led Zimbabwe to pull that one out of the fire and take it to the super over. So he was able to perform in regulation time. He was then able to take the chevrons home in the super over. And I'm not surprised that he has got this award, Barry. And it's one for a very prestigious award, because if you take a look at the lineup of other winners, he's joining the likes of Ajinkya Rahane, the likes of Glenn Maxwell, the like of Josh Hazelwood, Johnny Burstow. I mean, those are the players that he's been honoured alongside, and so he should be proud of himself, and Zimbabwe cricket should be proud that he's back in the chevrons ranks.
Absolutely, and Mike is absolutely right, Chris, because even if you look at this specific award of bowling performance of the year, if you look at past winners of this award, they read like a who's who of world cricket, don't they?
Absolutely, a big who's who of world cricket. Dale Steyn, Lasith Malinga, Mitchell Johnson, long list of people who Muzarabani stands head and shoulders with now. And also, if you take a look at other people who are deserving of this award as well, South Africa's Lungi Ngidi, he had 6 for 58, which helped South Africa to seal the home ODI series against Australia in Bloemfontein. And being able to shrug off a person like that and get the award, I think just speaks to how great his performance was in that super over.
And as a nation, Alois, this must be a real point of pride. Look, when we start seeing our athletes getting recognized internationally like this in award ceremonies of this nature, these are the sort of things that we hope for, and things that inspire everyone else who is playing that particular sport, and indeed other sports as well. We need more of this for our sport to move forward, surely.
You know, you are very right about inspiration, but unfortunately it inspires the athletes. It doesn't inspire the leaders that are supposed to actually see to it that these inspired athletes are actually given the platform to actually succeed, to actually achieve what they are seeing now on the podium. See, that's the problem. If we had leadership that were inspired, that was inspired by things like that, then we could move forward, because then we'll be thinking like, you know what, if we can have 1, if we can have 2, we can then have 5. It means we've got the talent. So what do we need to do? We need to put the facilities, platforms, so that we can actually have more of this. By so doing, our country is successful, but we don't have that progressive thinking, that progressive mind in our leadership. That's the biggest problem. But when you see things like this, we are inspired. Most definitely we are inspired. But the problem is sometimes we are inspired, but we are the powerless.
Yeah, Barry, I also hope that, the administrators out at the IPL, the Indian Premier League, will also be watching, and they'll also be inspired. The administrators out at the Big Bash League in Australia will be inspired as well, because if you take a look at India's performance in Australia, the reason why India has built up this healthy base of depth of talented cricketers who can step into the breach when some of their big names are out is because they've been exposed to a high level of competition in the IPL, where they're rubbing shoulders with international cricketers who are serving as their mentors. So it's the Indian the BCCI, the Indian system, realizing that, you know what, we can actually get more from these international cricketers and get them to help us develop our young cricketers. Now, if we start to get the likes of Blessing Muzarabani go and play in the IPL, and he's rubbing shoulders with the world best, and he's able to get a contract in the Big Bash League, for example, he becomes a greater cricketer, he becomes a better cricketer, he's able to improve because he's playing competitive cricket regularly and not just playing franchise cricket here in Zimbabwe or playing international cricket against the likes of Afghanistan and Ireland. We need him to be playing with the best. If Zimbabwe can start getting 2 or 3 or 4 of our cricketers playing in those competitions, our level of competition or our level of performance as the chevrons will increase.
No, it certainly will. And Chris, Mike makes a poignant, he brings in a poignant issue there, because it's the exposure that also helps cricketers. Look, like when we look at Blessing Muzarabani, he's built to be a fast bowler. The man is 6 foot plenty, okay, tall. He is slim of frame, slight of frame, so can deliver give a delivery that can test the best of them. So, but that also needs to be sharpened, and it's great that he had that short stint with English county cricket side Northamptonshire, then came back to the national side. And as Mike is pointing out, he then needs that next step of continuing to sharpen his skill.
Definitely. And you can see the difference in his performance. You can see the growth in him as a player. And you can see also because of his age, he's 24 years old, he's now coming into his peak. But because of that exposure, when it comes to an international competition, like the last one he was in that super over, you can distinctly see the level of, I'm going to say sharpness, not the right word, but I'm going to say sharpness. You can see how sharp he is compared to our other players as well. So it's that exposure and also just the right timing for our athletes. I think because of the time when, at the point at which he went there, he was a relatively younger player, and now he's come back, he's a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and his game has improved. So if we can get more, especially now, if he was to get another uplift into, for example, the IPL, you're going to get more out of him, and he's still young enough to do so. If we can do more of this for our players, we're going to have a much, much better selection.
Mike, I'm coming back to you, and you celebrated his return to the national side because he's a player in terms of you like fast bowlers, and he's one of those who certainly has the potential because of his height, his ability, and it's taken him in places. But you also wrote an article in your Friday piece for the Zimbabwe Independent last year sometime, and you spoke about the fact that we're getting these green shoots, one of which is Wesley Madevere from a batting perspective, but we're not necessarily giving them the support that they need and putting them into environments that can sharpen them. Is Blessing one of those?
Yeah, certainly. He's one of those, Barry. But in international sport, remember, every passing year, you become less and less of a prospect.
Yesterday's news.
Or development, you become yesterday's news. And the gist of my argument was simply this, Barry. If you don't have the systems, the infrastructure in place to develop your cricketers, take advantage of the systems and the infrastructure that's elsewhere to do that. So if you realize that Wesley Madevere is a fantastic batsman, he's a good prospect, then why don't we remove him from this environment? And I'll give credit to Zimbabwe cricket. They've got club cricket going, Zimbabwe cricket, they've got club cricket going again. They've got franchise cricket ticking along again. But is it at the right level? Are our systems at that level where Wesley Madevere is going to realize his potential as a world-class batsman? I don't think so. We may be there maybe in 2 years' time or in 3 years' time, but certainly not now. Remove him from this environment. Put him into South Africa, for example. Get him into one of the franchise sides in South Africa where he's playing for the Cape Cobras, where he is playing on the Highveld, where he's playing out in KwaZulu-Natal, or get him into the county cricket scene, or get him into Australia where he's playing Sheffield Shield cricket. And in those environments, Barry, he's using Australian facilities or South African facilities or English facilities. He's getting English coaching, South African coaching, or Australian coaching. So you've already exposed him to a higher level, which you wouldn't be able to give him here in Zimbabwe merely because you don't have the systems and structures in place.
Blessing Muzarabani, Wesley Madevere, and so many other stellar names in the chevrons need that sharpening for our chevrons to continue to compete. Yet another feather in the cap of Zimbabwe cricket. They seem to be getting a lot of plaudits from ZiFM Sport. I wonder if ZiFM Sport is on the take. Well, that remains up in the air. Other awards given out by ESPNcricinfo included men's test batting performance by Ajinkya Rahane. He is 112 versus Australia. The men's test bowling performance of the year went to Josh Hazlewood for his 5 wickets for just 8 runs versus India. The men's one-day international batting performance went to Glenn Maxwell for his 108 versus England. The men's one-day international bowling performance of the year, of course, we said went to Blessing Muzarabani for his 5 for 49 against Pakistan. He is of Zimbabwe. Men's T20 international batting performance, Johnny Bairstow. Men's T20 international bowling performance, Lockie Ferguson. In the women's category, women's batting performance went to Elisa Healy for 75 versus India. And then women's bowling went to Poonam Yadav for 4 for 19 versus Australia. And debutant of the year was Kyle Jamieson, of course, of New Zealand.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
Now, let's give you the rest of your local sports news roundup, starting with golf, where top Zimbabwean professional golfer Scott Vincent missed out on the opening European Tour event, the 2021 Abu Dhabi HSBC Championship, which teed off at Abu Dhabi Golf Club in the United Arab Emirates yesterday. Vincent was not part of the first event of the new season, headlined by a star-studded field, which includes defending champion and reigning European number 1 Lee Westwood of England. In table tennis news, the Table Tennis Union of Zimbabwe took advantage of the lockdown to embark on an expansion drive to spread the sport to all provinces. While it is not one of the major sports in Zimbabwe, the president of the Table Tennis Union of Zimbabwe, Noah Fernando, says that that will change as the association have set up structures in all the country's provinces. The Chinese government has been assisting the association, and Zimbabwean players are expected to tour China next year to cement the relationship. Let's wrap it up with news of a Paralympic nature, where Zimbabwean athletes looking at qualification for the rescheduled Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games will be hoping to make the qualifying standards at the World Para-Athletics Grand Prix in Dubai next month after getting approval to participate at the event. The Grand Prix is scheduled to run from the 6th to the 14th of February. Zimbabwe's chef de mission for the Games, Ignatius Vambe, said that they are now working on bringing in the athletes into a bio-bubble camp.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
It's the Friday edition of ZiFM Sport, where we build up to what should be an exciting weekend in the world of sport. Rugby is up next, but before we get there, a reminder that we're going to be talking about Liverpool. They are in a bad place at the moment, losing that unbeaten run at Anfield to Burnley of all teams. And then on Sunday, they make the short trip into Manchester to take on their rivals United in the FA Cup. And then after that, it's an away trip into London to take on Tottenham Hotspur. Can Jurgen Klopp negotiate his way, navigate his way out of these choppy waters? The team will be helping answer that question. Let's go to South Africa, where winning at all costs will be the only objective when the 4 Currie Cup semi-finalists take to the field tomorrow at Loftus, Versfeld and Newlands, respectively, to stake a claim for a place in the Currie Cup final. The Bulls will host their southern neighbours, the Lions, in Pretoria in the first semi-final before the action switches to Cape Town for the matchup between Western Province and the Sharks. We touched on this semi-final lineup, Barry, I think last week, and we talked about how the South African Rugby Union, they will be happy about this because they've got the 4 best teams historically featuring in the semi-finals, so there will be interest in these matches.
Absolutely. And listen, we spoke about the fact that, you've got derbies as well. So you're guaranteed of eyeballs, you're guaranteed of support, because also being that these are successful teams historically and heritage teams, they're very well supported and well patronized. So you're likely to have lots of eyeballs. Unfortunately, there won't be fans in the stadium. Otherwise, if there were to be fans in these stadiums, both stadiums, I can guarantee you, will be packed to the rafters. But you can be sure that all of the supporters of these 4 teams will be watching on TV. And listen, the organizers will be absolutely pleased, because it gives a competition that is a heritage competition and you would have thought that a competition like this would struggle in a closed door environment. They can now be guaranteed that it's going to be given the bounce that it deserves. Hopefully this time next year, or at least when the next edition comes around, there'll be fans in stadiums.
And of course, just from a rugby perspective, the Currie Cup has been the FA Cup of rugby. It's the oldest and possibly the most prestigious franchise competition in the world. And South Africans, no doubt the biggest rugby playing nation in the world in terms of numbers, will be keen to see which of their favorite teams progresses to the final. And how it's going to work out is that the Bulls have got an incentive to win. And here's what it is. If they win, they're guaranteed a home final at Loftus for the first time since 2009. And of course, if they don't, it means that the hosts of the final will come from Cape Town or Durban. So that is what's at stake. Now, Chris, let's take a look at the Bulls. I mean, they have been definitely the best side over the last few months in South African rugby. And you've got to admire the work that has been done by Bulls Director of Rugby, Jake White.
Jake White has definitely done an incredible job, especially if you take a look at the fact that they've come into this competition, managed to stay at the top, and also they were dealing with an entire pandemic. And look, to be honest, no team was prepared for a pandemic, but they've managed to deal with it. They've managed to name a full-strength squad: David Creel, fullback, Cornel Hendricks, and Stedman Gans at centers. They're all back in action. So being able to name that squad, perform throughout the competition, the Bulls have definitely done a splendid job throughout the Currie Cup.
Barry, the Lions themselves will not be pushovers. They include 6 Springboks in their starting lineup, 2 more on the extended bench. So plenty of experience, plenty of quality there. This should be a rip-roaring derby.
It absolutely should be a rip-roaring derby because of what you pointed out, the experience, and then also you look at the brains trust, as it were, at the Bulls. You're looking at 2 teams that have the capability to win the game, but also 2 teams that are going to be sizing each other up and wondering which one, what's going to come at them. So the counter strategy also is going to be just as much important as the strategy that each of these teams go into the game.
And I'm particularly excited, Barry. Their back line has got plenty of quality. Burger Odendal, who plays at center. Then there's the hot-stepping Wandisile Simelane, as well as, of course, Alton Yanchis, who've been playing at first 5. And he's going to come under scrutiny and attention, especially from the Bulls, because they know that if he gets front football, if he gets his game going, he's very good with ball in hand and also a very good kicker. So they're going to be watching him and making sure that they don't give him any opportunities. Now let's go to the Coastal Derby. That is Western Province and the Natal Bay side, or should I say the KwaZulu-Natal Bay side, the Sharks. And you've got to say that this one also ticks all the boxes, Chris, in terms of it being an epic showdown.
Epic showdown, especially considering, like you mentioned right at the top, these are teams that have had existing rivalries, as it were. Also, both teams have won 7 matches this season. The Cape Townians, obviously Western Province, only got 2 points fewer than the Durbanites. Although the Western Province defensive record is slightly better, they've only conceded 216 points and the Shark 244. So it's an exciting game, and these 2 teams definitely, historically also, would want to win this game.
Now, Barry, what will make it even more exciting is the fact that these 2 teams actually haven't met each other this season. Their 2 previous encounters were cancelled as a result of the COVID-19 protocols. So this is the first time they're meeting. So we don't quite know what to expect. What we're expecting, though, is an exciting game of rugby.
An exciting game of rugby. And then, of course, there is the Siya Kolisi factor, as it were. Remember, he's got a halo on him in South African rugby after being a World Cup winning captain. He returns for the KwaZulu-Natalians. The Cape Townians, the Western Province. I was about to put him on the Shark side mistakenly. He returns, obviously, for Western Province. And he's a huge, big game player. But here's the issue. COVID-19. Remember, he tested positive. Will those effects come to the fore? It remains to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely remains to be seen. So, guys, just give me 2 names. Which 2 teams do you think are going to be featuring in the Currie Cup final? Starting with you, Chris.
Tough one, but I'm going to go Blue Bulls and Western Province.
Okay, is that because you went to UCT?
Absolutely.
Good spot, Mike. Good spot.
There we go. I could see her from a mile away. Baz, you agree with Chris?
I think it's going to be a Loftus final with the Bulls taking on the Western Province.
Okay, so everyone looks like they're in agreement. I am going to go for the Sharks, though. I think the Sharks might come through in this one. I'm going to go with Blue Bulls versus the Sharks in the Currie Cup final.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in the United Arab Emirates, where Conor McGregor promised a masterpiece when the biggest draw card in mixed martial arts returns to the fray against US lightweight Dustin Poirier in the headline event on the UFC 257 card in Abu Dhabi. At the pre-fight press conference streamed live from the Etihad Arena, McGregor said, "This is the best I have ever been for sure. I'll show the world what's what." Very ominous there. In news from Japan, though, Red Bull has reached an agreement with Honda that will allow the two energy drink-owned teams to continue to use the departing Japanese manufacturer's Formula One engines after 2021. According to Delmont Marco, the only thing missing now is for the other teams and the FIA to agree to freezing engine development. And we'll touch down in the United States, where LeBron James scored a season-high 34 points to help keep the LA Lakers undefeated on the road this season with a 113-106 win over the Milwaukee Bucks. LeBron shot 6 for 10 from three-point range and added 8 assists for the Lakers in the opener of a 7-game road trip as they extended their franchise-best road start to 8 wins in a row.
Hi, my name is Rudoni Shamba, Maitoria's super striker. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
The lion roars. The warrior beats his drum. Battle lines are drawn in the jungles of Cameroon. It's your Chan 2021 report on ZiFM Sport.
Well, the eyes of the continent are trained on Cameroon, as they will be when they eventually host the Africa Cup of Nations. But this time they're hosting the African Nations Championship Chan. Now, two-time Chan champions, the DRC, that's Democratic Republic of Congo, needed a late strike by Amadou Massassi to salvage a 1-1 draw against Libya to ensure they continue leading Group B. Captain Mutaz Hussein Al-Mahdi scored for the opponents at the Stade Omnisport de Douala. And Alois, you got to say to yourself that DRC always put themselves there or thereabout, and you've got to sort of respect the league out in the DRC because they always manage to put together a competitive outfit. Albeit that they worked for this draw, it keeps them top of the table. So kudos to them.
Yeah, you know, but when you look at their clubs as well, they compete very competitively as well in the CAF competitions. You see AS Vita, you've got your FC Lupopo, you've got your TP Mazembe. They're actually top clubs in Africa. And their league, they're always competing and they're always producing good players. It actually shows that the authorities, they put a maximum attention to their league, and they make sure that these clubs are well funded and they play at a very high level. You have seen the clubs going all the way to the semi-finals in the cup. You know, that's the measure of your local national team. When you want to measure the Chan squad around Africa, look at the teams that dominate in Africa. Those are the teams that are most likely to do well in the Chan Championship, because those are the very same players that will be playing there. So when you look at TP Mazembe, AS Vita, they always up there somewhere in the CAF competition. So we're not surprised that they always go there and do well in the Chan. That's why they also produce, you know, at the Chan. That's where a lot of players are also scouted for Europe as well. That's why you find them. They also export players to Europe from Chan. That's why we were saying that we need to take Chan seriously, because it's actually a very good platform for us to actually have foreign-based players, more players going to Europe.
And Chris, with a strong DRC like that, Libya will be quite disappointed because for long periods in that game, it looked like they had done enough to get a 1-0 victory over a very strong side. But that late equalizer undoing them and ensuring that they stay third in the group, because now they've got 2 draws from two games, having drawn in their first game against Niger.
Definitely, they would have been disappointed with that result, because for, I think, long periods of the game, it definitely looked like they would be able to get the win over, but they didn't manage to. And this is against a DR Congo side, like you said, that's it's a pretty strong side. And Libya staying third in the group, not necessarily good for them. They're going to be disappointed with that draw.
And the competition being ravaged by COVID-19, it hasn't spared the DRC, because in this game they didn't have their coach on the bench. He is in isolation along with a couple of players as well. And you got to say to yourself, the result looks all the more impressive, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. I think DRC could have gone into this tournament with a very, very strong side. They actually have some more players that are missing because of their Champions League commitments. Players that play for TP Mazembe, etc. So this is not their strongest locally based side. They could actually be stronger than this. That's why they've done very well at Chan, because of the strength of teams like TP Mazembe. Those teams, of course, are able to provide the frame, or should I say the spine of their team. So for them, they'll be happy that they remain top of Group B. They got 4 points. They have it in their own hands to qualify for the knockout stages of the tournament, and that's where they'll be expecting to be.
And be there, they're likely to be, Mike, because DRC have put themselves right in the box seat to go into those quarterfinals. This weekend sees the second group games for Group C and Group D, and then Group A wraps up their group games on Sunday. Tonight, Morocco and Rwanda are currently underway, and then at 9 p.m. it's Uganda versus Togo. Tomorrow night, it's the turn of Group D, and Zambia will take on Guinea, while Namibia takes on Tanzania in the late kickoff. On Sunday, for the final group games, Burkina Faso will take on Cameroon, while Zimbabwe will take on Mali in a delicate group because Cameroon is sitting on top on 4 points. Mali is in second, also on 4 points. And then Burkina Faso is in third, sitting on 3 points. All to play for there. Zimbabwe hasn't troubled the score as yet and is out of the competition. But any one of those three can qualify for the quarterfinals.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
News out of England, out of Merseyside to be exact. Jurgen Klopp has tried to deflect scrutiny away from his misfiring Liverpool attack by insisting he was to blame for the champions' shock 1-0 defeat to Burnley. The Clarets were the only visiting side to take points off Liverpool during last season's title-winning campaign, and went one better as Ashley Barnes' penalty ended the Reds' 68-game unbeaten league run at Anfield. Now, Klopp has taken full responsibility for the defeat, which extended Liverpool's winless run to 5 games.
We lost the game, which I think is it's actually impossible to lose, but we did it. And that's my fault. So, because my job is to make sure that the boys have the right feelings, like the right amount of confidence, they make the right decisions, all these kind of things, and that obviously didn't work out for tonight because we had the ball a lot. We created some situations, that's all okay, but in the final moment, obviously our decision making is not right in the moment. That's the problem. So you have the ball in the right place, then you don't shoot, then you pass. I'm pretty sure I said the same thing last week. And the problem is something doesn't work. You have to try harder, longer, more often, and so again and again, and make better decisions. So, but it obviously didn't work out tonight, and that's what we have to admit. Nothing to say about, and that's why we lost the game.
I mean, Barry, it's fair to say that Liverpool are in a pretty bad place at the moment. Not just Liverpool as the players, as the club, but also their fans, because they become the brunt of plenty of social media banter.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, 4 consecutive games without a victory, 4 consecutive games without scoring a goal. It's a bad moment. It's a very bad moment. And all teams go through it, but you got to think to yourself that this one is particularly bad because, number one, Liverpool are the defending champions in England. Number two, this is an attack that has been vaunted across the world, and for an attack to suddenly go from being one of the best attacks in the world to nothing in the last 4 games is really a shock treatment for fans, as you quite rightly point out, and then also for the team. And I completely accept that Klopp is trying to deflect and take on and be the shock absorber for his team, but in truth, some of the players have got to take some responsibility, because some of the decisions being made in that final goal scoring phase are ridiculous, and it might be a lack of confidence, or it might just be a bad moment.
Okay, well, if you're a stat boffin, let me give you some. Liverpool's first home league defeat since April 2017 was made all the more alarming by the failure to score in 4 consecutive Premier League games for the first time in 21 years, with 7 hours and 18 minutes passing since they last found the net. Now, Chris, this looks like it's an internal issue, isn't it? Because for me, I take a look at the games where Liverpool has dropped points. They haven't been outplayed. In fact, they've actually dominated all those games, but they just can't seem to be able to score.
They just can't seem to be able to score, and it's almost like when you watch them, something is simply not clicking into gear. There's definitely a problem up front there, but it's just... for me, I don't think it's anything to cause any particular alarm. I think it can be fixed. I think just the sooner it's fixed, the less anxiety there is, especially for Liverpool fans. But I don't think it's a totally calamitous situation. It's just Jurgen Klopp needs to get a hold of the situation and fix the issues right up front.
Alois, Chris is saying it's not totally calamitous. Liverpool finding themselves 6 points behind Manchester United, who are the table toppers at the moment. City potentially can lead Liverpool by 8 points if they win their game in hand, but that's no guarantee. This is a situation which Man City found themselves in just a couple of seasons ago, and they were able to chase down Liverpool. So do you agree with Chris to say that, you know what, if Jurgen Klopp is able to find the answers and Liverpool turn this corner quickly, that they are still in with a shout for league glory?
Yeah, they're still in with a chance. You know, you can't discount them at this present moment right now, because we all know that they are failing to score. And when a team starts scoring, the beauty of it is they are also not conceding goals. You know, when you are not conceding goals, you only need to fix one side. So, you know, they can actually go on. What I have seen with the Liverpool strikers, they are not as quick out of the block as they used to be, and they're lethargic at the moment. I don't know where this is coming from. Maybe fatigue. I'm not so sure, because they've really worked so hard these past 2 years. Probably it is. And then there's an element of the ball is not moving at all. They are not breaking defense. The ball is not moving. Mane is holding onto the ball. Firmino is holding onto the ball. Salah is holding onto the ball. If you look closely, all the 3 front men, they're hanging onto the ball for a little bit too long than they used to be. They're not moving. So they need to get back to that rhythm where they complement each other, not as individuals. They need to complement each other with the runs off the ball. You know, we used to credit Firmino for making runs and making space for the other players. It's not showing anymore this time around. So I think once they fix that up front, they will start scoring goals. They need to just start scoring once, twice, then they can get going. They're still in it.
Well, Barry, they'll need to fix it very quickly, isn't it? Because this weekend is FA Cup action, and Liverpool meet United at Old Trafford on Sunday. And of course, it's a short trip, but it's one that Liverpool fans will not be entirely confident about, just judging by the way that games have gone over the last month for Liverpool, where it doesn't matter how much of the ball they have, it doesn't matter how many chances they create, it doesn't matter how much they dominate, they're not able to score. And you get a feeling that if United score 1 or 2, they know the game is won.
For sure, and that's a tragedy right now with the place and space that Liverpool is in, because anyone who scores a goal has the assumption that the game is won, and least of all going to the old enemy for Liverpool and Liverpool fans, and then having that in the back of your head, it adds an extra dimension. And when this draw came out of the FA Cup, it created a conundrum for the managers, because here's the thing: the FA Cup, sometimes you can field your second stringers, you can sort of manage your squad. It's like squad rotation time. Let me tell you, Liverpool, United will not want to lose to each other, and so consequently we're likely to see strong sides run out on Sunday, and it's all to play for. Last time in the league it ended 0-0. Let's see how this one goes.
Chris, do you expect a change in approach from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? He was very cautious at Anfield. Or do you expect him to remain pretty much the same? The way he set it up in Anfield, the same way he'll set it up this weekend?
I expect him to remain the same, because I think he's, first of all, the thing is, when you don't have a formula for what you're doing, when there is no set way in which you are achieving the win, then sitting at the top of the table, you're going to be a little bit anxious because you don't know how to replicate it. And if you don't know how to replicate your success, you're going to be cautious. So as far as I'm concerned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is very happy with where United is, and all he's going to try to do is to defend.
We have battered Paul Pogba, Alois, so many times on the show when he hasn't been playing well. And it's only right that we talk about Paul Pogba when he is playing well. And over the last few weeks, I think he's begun to show Manchester United how good a player he is.
He is definitely a good player. You know, we have always known that he is a good player, but it was the behavior, I think, that was like letting him down. We know when he is focused, when he is serious to play football, he is one of the best in the world. And somehow, somewhere, he has just started playing football. He has just switched on.
Okay, he'll be expected to light it up at Old Trafford this weekend. That's the big FA Cup clash for you, United versus Liverpool. And that is in Manchester at Old Trafford. Your other games will see Arsenal visit the South Coast to take on Southampton. West Ham play versus Doncaster Rovers. Manchester City away to Cheltenham Town. Chelsea entertain Luton Town. Leicester away to Brentford. Everton versus Sheffield Wednesday. That is, of course, the Owls. And then Manchester United, like I said, will take on Liverpool. Just one Premier League game that will see Aston Villa taking on Newcastle United.
Heading into Spain now to give you a preview from La Liga this weekend ahead of their test against Valencia on Sunday. Luis Suarez double sent Atletico Madrid 7 points clear as they recovered to beat Eibar 2-1 last night. Los Rojiblancos have been flying this season, keeping a clean sheet in 11 of their last 15 and winning 12 of their last 13 games. Barry, if you take a look at this Atletico Madrid side, they've got their defense on point, they're scoring goals now. This is a well-balanced team and it's showing.
Absolutely, it certainly is, and the league position is no surprise. It also helps that Atletico Madrid has a balanced side. Yes, they've got their going forward right. Luis Suarez probably signing of the season, and they've got their defense right, which is classic Diego Simeone. But what has really conspired to assist them in their league position is the fact that the usual suspects, Real Madrid, Barcelona, are absolutely stuttering. So what Atletico Madrid needed to do was to take advantage, and they've been well capable of doing that.
Mike, you take a look at Sunday, they'll be up against Valencia. Do they stumble here, or do you see them adding to their lead at the moment? And also just bearing in mind, this is a team that's high on confidence, and also they've still got games in hand.
I expect them to win. They're playing at the Wanda Metropolitano at their home grounds. They're not conceding goals, and they're likely to score the other end. They're in such a good place that Joao Felix, who's been off form for the last 4 or 5 weeks, hasn't really been needed to sparkle, because the offensive duties have been handled very well by players like Correa, by players like Yannick Carrasco. They've come through. Luis Suarez provided the goals through the middle. So they're in a very good place. So I expect them just to have too much depth, too much strength for Valencia.
Let's take a look at the rest of your La Liga weekend fixtures. Levante versus Real Valladolid. Huesca will be up against Villarreal. Sevilla versus Cadiz. Real Sociedad versus Real Betis. Alaves versus Real Madrid. Alois, just quickly on Real Madrid, they've been knocked out of the cup competition, and now we're hearing that Zinedine Zidane has tested positive for COVID-19, so he won't be on the bench. How much of an impediment is this on a team that right now is looking very shaky?
Yeah, they are really shaky, and the COVID issue is also going to make them even worse. And psychologically, it's going to affect them. This is a team that is trying to chase for the championship, and they find themselves they have been inconsistent before this actually COVID test, COVID positive test to their coach. And now, even if the coach was just out, maybe with another ailment, it was going to affect the team. But when it becomes COVID, everybody will start looking at themselves. Maybe who else is going to test positive as well? He has been around us. Those things, they keep on ringing in the players' heads and everything, and it affects the team psychologically. And I don't think they will be in the right frame of mind to be going into this match. If they win, yes, it's possible they might, but then it's not something that the real fans are going to be going out there and say, we are going to win this match. This is one game that they are going to be looking at their team, looking at them as very shaky. And for me, as a Real Madrid fan, I'm very much afraid that, this is happening at a time when they're supposed to be chasing and they won't catch up.
They might not be able to catch up, but the rest of your weekend fixtures: Osasuna versus Granada, Elche versus Barcelona, Celta Vigo versus Aiba, and that big one, Atletico Madrid versus Valencia.
In Germany, your Bundesliga fixtures look like this. Mainz will take on RB Leipzig. Bayer Leverkusen take on Wolfsburg. Arminia Bielefeld host Eintracht Frankfurt, while Augsburg take on Union Berlin. Freiburg versus Stuttgart. Hertha Berlin will take on Werder Bremen, while Schalke will take on league leaders Bayern Munich. Hoffenheim will entertain Cologne, but tonight it's Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund need to pull it out of the fire. They're already 10 points behind Bayern Munich, Mike, and they'll sorely need a victory here because Borussia Mönchengladbach are actually just behind them, albeit that it's 3 places, but it's only 1 point.
Yeah, absolutely. No pushovers. And remember, there's a big rivalry, Barry, between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Borussia Dortmund. It's the Borussia Derby. Mönchengladbach, big team, especially in the 70s. Very successful team back then. And they've begun playing well of late. And so they'll be looking to get one over Borussia Dortmund. So it should be a good game. No guarantees for BVB in this one.
No guarantees in Germany. No guarantees in the Bundesliga. Those are your fixtures for this weekend in Germany. Let's quickly switch over to Italy, where high-flying AC Milan take on Atalanta at the San Siro tomorrow. Both teams have been impressive at times this season and have a point to prove going into this game. And we'll see how that one plays out. We'll be able to let you know on Monday. Your other Serie A fixtures look like this. Juventus will host Bologna, while Napoli travel to Hellas Verona. Parma will take on Sampdoria, while Roma host Spezia. Fiorentina versus Crotone, and as we said earlier, AC Milan versus Atalanta. In Ligue 1, PSG take on Montpellier, while Reims host Brest, and Saint Etienne will be taking on Olympique de Lyonnais. We're out of time. We'll be back on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend, Zimbabwe. Have a safe one. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.